have developed speed, but we have shut ourselves in. Machinery that gives abundance has left us in want. We think too much and feel too little. More than machinery, we need humanity.
We know the air is unfit to breathe and our food is unfit to eat. As if that's the way it's supposed to be. We know things are bad, worse than bad. They're crazy.
Silence! The great and powerful Oz knows why you have come.
You've got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it. My life has value.
You have meddled with the primal forces of nature.
Don't give yourselves to brutes. Men who despise you, enslave you, who regiment your lives, tell you what to do, what to think, or what to feel, who drill you, diet you, treat you like cattle, use you as cannon fodder. Don't give yourselves to these unnatural men with machine minds and machine hearts.
With Jason Bermas.
And who loves you? And who do you love?
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Can't believe it's already Thursday. The week truly flies by, guys. I mean, we cover a lot of topics here. I know there were some brutal watch-alongs with, Zombie J and Hillary Clinton and the Maddow monster. But I think that we've got snappier stuff today. Although all that stuff was extremely important, I really hope that everybody enjoyed the Alex Stein interview from yesterday. You made your way over to rvmrumble.com where the second hour lives for free. And check that out. We had a really great discussion. And today I wanted to kick it off with some Hollyweird. Okay, and normally, again, sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. It's certainly not what we focus in on here. But every once in a while, right, you get your Woody Harrelson story, or we're talking about Jamie Foxx. Because, in my opinion, the story we're covering, it expands into the larger zeitgeist of the population and really the pulse of that population. All right. When I say zeitgeist, what's going on? And fame has always throughout cultures been a hell of a drug and been promoted. And unfortunately, when you involve children from a very young age in a system that is utterly so cutthroat and grotesque, most people can't imagine it. The vast majority of the time, you're going to have nothing but nightmares come out of it. So specifically, I obviously show a lot of Daily Mail stories here. Okay, so the Daily Mail is a great aggregate for news stories, and on top of that, does a lot of exclusives that no one else is going to touch. It's Murdoch media. You know, I'm not in love with Rupert Murdoch. Obviously, I've had a lot of issues with Fox News, and I think Sky is also theirs over in Europe. But the amount of content that comes out of it is totally worthwhile. And like I said, every once in a while, they really do. They had some great exclusives on the Epstein stuff. However, in that, you get a lot of tabloid stuff. In fact, it's a wonder we don't do more tabloid and royal stuff here. But quite frankly, that stuff nauseates me to no end most of the time. Okay. Britney Spears was at the top, and it's this video she put out, and we're not going to show the video here. It's just too much. Maybe we could get away with it, maybe we couldn't. I don't really care one way or another. I'm not showing it. I'm going to show you some stills. So, like, apparently she's getting divorced again, and this is the type of videos that she's like putting out. And I get it; she's always been a little risque, but like, we're talking full yeah. You're going to get just a little piece of it. There we go. Yeah, just I'm going to block out some of the Botox. You know what I'm saying? Like, so, why is it your business, Jason? Why is this what you're bringing up? Okay. There was a large campaign to talk about Britney Spears, and a lot of people were talking about the mind control aspects of Hollywood and the abuse. And this is a Disney kid. This is very much an MICKEYMOUSE. Remember that one, kids? I do. Because it was embedded in my head. Again, I'm from another generation. But like my generation and then the subsequent one also were the first ones to get all these channels. The Disney Channel was big. That's really where the phenomenon popped off, where Disney and even entertainment's expansion into the kids arena exploded. Now, a lot of it was geared at kids before, but not only did you have the Mickey Mouse Club, but now you have the entire network, right? And it was like a mirror image of Disney, which also was exploding at the time and introduced in my generation. And what chance does somebody like that have when they're surrounded by people like this? Now, Dan Schneider and Britney Spears here, that's not the main go-to. However, if you read what's above me, that's Jamie Lynn Spears. Again, what kind of chance does that kid have in the future? And has already had a ton of trouble. Let's just say she had a teenage pregnancy, and a lot of people say a lot of things about some creepy folks. I mean, you take a look at a guy like that, and that's the kind of person that you're surrounded by in the entertainment industry. Now, there's the antithesis of that, too. There's the really slick, good-looking folks that you think are going to be the best, and they're just as perverse and, quite frankly, demonic. They're just as bad. Because, like, when you're looking at somebody like this, okay, and there's a multitude. I've done videos on Dan Schneider before. This isn't even going to be a Dan Schneider video. I just want you to realize that this guy, for all he's been accused of, not in jail, probably has tens of millions of dollars, has taken sort of a back seat on the Hollywood scene. But if he's guilty of any of the crimes that he's been accused of, has never paid the price for those crimes. Not once, right? So what kind of a chance does a Britney Spears have? So, you know, there was this whole Free Britney movement and the conservatorship, but what I don't think people understand is how damaged this person is. Can you imagine, first of all, why in the world would you put your children through this? You know, that speaks to the fact that you have a system where obviously the parents aren't looking out for the kids. And this is her latest husband, who apparently is about to divorce her, because it's going to be very difficult for her to have any kind of a real intimate relationship when she's beholden to a system where she constantly has to have attention, and she constantly has to maintain an image, and she constantly has to sexually exploit herself. Okay? So apparently this is over right here. I guess, see what I mean? Like, you're a woman, I believe, who's about 40, and you're supposed to be marrying your husband, and that's what you're doing? You're grabbing, I mean, come on. There's a time and a place, right? And we're not going to go back down to that. But how could this person ever have a chance? Like, take a look at the thumb, guys. You know, this is when she's, a teenager, very young, before the huge music career that she's gonna maintain. But that picture right there, which is a little bit suggestive, I could have easily used a much more explicit, exploitive photo of her as a young girl, because they're out there. And Britney's just one of the ones we get to see that made it. Can you imagine all those, part-time actors, bit players, side pieces. We see it all the time, kind of in the back doors of the headlines. This is in the forefront. And what kills me is so many people still aggrandize the entertainment industry and would not only desperately want to be a part of it themselves, okay, but they want their children to be a part of it. Now, I guess there's some people out there that somehow, some way, very strong personalities, very strong people have overcome the adversity of being a childhood star and maintained a career in Hollywood that I guess doesn't have the type of scandal that Britney Spears and so many others have. The drug abuse, the sex abuse, who knows? Who knows the vices beyond, right? I could name one right now. Christian Bale has been around. You know, he played he was the main guy, the main child star in Empire of the Sun, which is really still an incredible movie to this day. And he's maintained his career. He's an incredible actor. You can't take away from his craft. You know, I think, who is it? Elijah Wood is another one. So, you know, there's some people out there, Frodo, that have been able to do it. But there are always these dark tales about the others that don't make it. And there are always these people within the machine, whether it be Disney or Nickelodeon or Viacom, right, or Paramount, Warner Brothers. The list goes on, or does it, by the way. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. And, you know, that's the dirty little secret. In fact, Bill Maher brought that up. That's a clip I should have found. Let's see if we can find that right now, because we do it live. Thumbs it up, subscribe, and share. It's one I forgot about. I could have had going for the intro. But Bill Maher, I think it was on Club Random, talked about, I believe it was Judy Garland. Let's see. Bill Maher, Judy. Man, we're not, wait, is this it right here? Yes, Shirley Temple. That's the one. I think this is in the shorts. So this was like a couple weeks ago. Here we go. We got it. We did it, guys. We found it. Look at that. Live and on time. Let's get that out of the way. Here we go.
Temple.
When you read her book, you can read between the lines of
Richard Dreyfuss with him, by the way.
an enormous
Scandal?
a scandal that never unscandalized.
She was abused?
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure. I mean, they did it routinely.
What she was that they made as much as they could of a never acknowledged ongoing sin. You know, it's not that she was abused in the sense that bad behavior on the part of Louis B. Mayer. It's that that was the done thing to every young actress.
Judy Garland, I'm sure. You know, I mean, yeah, they were just, men
ridiculous
without guardrails.
And
or just
they
atavistic.
invented the American small town perfect place.
Think about that, guys. Judy Garland, Shirley Temple. Again, that's an older generation. Perhaps mine's the last that remember those names. But that's Richard Dreyfuss talking about it with Bill Maher and Men Without Guardrails. And, you know, even, one of the abusers seems to be named by Richard Dreyfuss. But he's like, I'm not even blaming that abuser per se, because it's such a culture in Hollywood. It's such a culture of exploiting children, especially young girls. And look, we know it's not just young girls. And we know the abuse that happens to young boys, don't we? Don't we, Brian Singer? And in fact, the tweet where I found that to make a quick point about that was from An Open Secret. That is an excellent documentary film that exposes this behavior in Hollywood. We're going to come back on the other side. We're going to talk about a possible Apple and Disney merger or really Apple buying Disney. That's scary, and I'm going to explain why in a moment. We'll be back after this.
When I invented My Pillow, my passion was to help each and every one of you. And 20 years later, all of your support is what keeps us going. Because of you, we've been able to create thousands of USA jobs and help millions get the best sleep ever. To thank you, my employees and I are bringing you a limited edition My Pillow. The Giza Elegance My Pillow is made with my patented adjustable fill, the most amazing cotton, and a 2-inch pipe gusset. It has 4 custom loft levels, machine washable and dryable, and you get my 60-day money-back guarantee and 10-year warranty.
Go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get your limited edition 20th anniversary My Pillow queen size. Retails for $69.98, now only $19.98. That's right, get a queen size My Pillow for only $19.98.
From all of us here at My Pillow,
we are back. It is Reality Rants. We don't even have 50 thumbs up. Can we get the thumbs up? I want to remind everybody the second hour is over at RVM Rumble.com. Please go check it out over there. Give it a subscribe. And remember, you can support the broadcast at redvoicemedia.com/uncensored. Sign up for $1 for the first week. It is $10 a month after that, or lock it in at $100 for the year. And you're going to get those exclusive interviews before everybody else, not just the little snippets we play here. Amongst them will be the Jay Dyer heavy metal breakdown, in which I really love the fact that we can look at quote unquote art that also has a lot of predictive programming elements, especially when it comes to robots, transhumanism, science fiction becoming science fact, that type of thing. So really great discussion with him. I'm going to be on the road next week. I'm going to have to be doing some pre-records over the weekend. I'm going to hopefully be hitting the road Tuesday evening. We'll see. I gotta see about my car and whether or not I'm going to be able to get my brakes done. I guess if I don't get my brakes done on that Tuesday, I'm going to have to fly out to Vegas, which I really don't want to do. But I'm going to be out in Vegas for several days, speaking at the Reawaken America Tour. I promise I'm going to have a banger, if you will, a banger of a presentation for everybody on not only transhumanism and Elon Musk and the transgender movement, but some of the latest stuff regarding biometrics, AI, and blockchain people, where this is all going. Okay, and we're actually going to discuss a lot of that later in the broadcast. Got a lot of clips queued up. Got some documents open as well. Okay, I want to come back just for a second to this story I was just alluding to before the break. Okay. Apple buying Disney is no longer as crazy an idea as it was. Okay. And it's some ludicrous number. Okay. There was speculation back in 2006. I think it's like 168 billion. What was the number I read? See, you're looking at this. And why would this be terrible? Boy, would this be terrible. First of all, there's already a massive influx. If you look at these companies, they all run advertising on each other's networks when it comes to films and TV shows and streaming services. All of them. 160 billion. $160 billion for Disney. Now, the thing that worries me about this is they already have such, both of them have a cult-like following. Everybody's worried about the Orange Man and his cult-like following. Disney's got a huge cult-like following, and Apple has a huge, like I got to tell you, a lot of people will tell you that I'm biased against mac and cheese and all that kind of shenanigans. It's tough for me to really like Apple. Everybody's like, they just work, Jason. They just work. Do they? Because I've worked in a lot of areas where there were Macs, and I had to do it for my job. Cooperstown Dreams Park would be one of them. When I was in college, I had to learn on Macs because they didn't have PCs. And really, 25 years ago, when I was first introduced to this stuff, kind of as a teenager, 18, 19 years old, I didn't understand, there's nobody teaching me that the equivalent or better could be built for half or 3/4 the price on a PC. See, everything's just easier, Jason. They just work, Jason. I don't have time, Jason. They're convenient, Jason. And so, they were pushed and promoted and created this whole ecosystem. And my professor loved them. Loved them. Couldn't get it, always talking about them. Never mentioning a PC. Didn't hurt they also gave him some nice little freebies along the way. Hey, comrade. And then Apple launches the first touchscreen smartphone of any significance. There's some other stuff early on out there. There's obviously the Blackberries and all that. The flip phones. That was the phone of the day. But eventually, obviously, there becomes the Google competitor, and for me, it's not even close for the bang for your buck on those devices. It's not, and what you're able to do. I mean, iPhones are nice. I get it. They're very nice phones. None of them allow you to even implement extra storage. That you think it costs them that much more to put an SD card slot in there? No, instead they want to charge you $100+ for every tier of storage. When storage has become cheaper and faster over the last 20 years, and it was almost 15 years ago, I was discussing micro SD cards that are still the norm, by the way, the size of my pinky, like pinky nail, size of my pinky nail, that then were holding half a terabyte to a terabyte. I believe today you can get a 2 terabyte one. Terabytes, not gigabytes, guys. Terabytes. Nope. Not in the Apple ecosystem. So their brand is selling you on, in my opinion, easy bullshit. They don't want to teach you how you can be more self-sufficient. They don't want to teach you how you can upgrade your stuff much more cheaply, efficiently, and easy through a PC. I mean, there are a lot of frustrations. Obviously, people saw them over in the last couple weeks when it comes to, I guess, technology in general. But think about this. Like, when you walk into an Apple store, and this always annoyed me about any kind of, store. Especially back in the mall days when the malls were hopping. They're much less hopping now. But kind of like the arrogance and atmosphere of some of these places. Like, they're totally out of touch. And so, when I walk in to an Apple store, I don't need to be told by somebody with a lanyard around their neck, okay, that's going to scan something, that they're a genius. You're at the Genius Bar. What? The Genius Bar? No, I'm not. Because if they were smart, they wouldn't be working in a place that at the time they would have been lucky to make $12 an hour. The Genius Bar? The hell are you talking about? But again, people were trained not to learn their technology, not to know how to work the magic boxes of various sizes. And boy, you are smart, Skipper. You're a genius. No. So then you have that merging with Disney, another huge brand, which, before the last 5 or 10 years had never been questioned about anything. And now because they're pushing agendas so hard, it's hard not to notice it. But remember, Disney has had an adult brand forever in Miramax, which is the Weinstein vehicle. And hands down, a lot of the stuff that Miramax put out back in the day is some of the best, in my opinion, films. That doesn't mean that Harvey Weinstein and others working in Hollywood aren't demons. Okay? That, and the fact that Disney has worked with the military-industrial complex pre-World War II. I mean, the propaganda films they were putting together with Donald Duck that we've discussed on this broadcast before show that. And then the fact that the Central Intelligence Agency helped them scoop up land for Disney World down in Florida should show that. And then all the special privileges that have gone on via Disney and Florida show that. By the way, DeSantis is starting to back off the Disney thing. Have you noticed that? It's in the background now. Wonder why. Oh, running for president. You know, because these people realize, again, the masses are part of this really like celebritard worship culture. I hate it. And I'm not innocent, by the way. I like entertainment. You know, meeting somebody, I guess, that's in Hollywood or whatever, I'm sure I'd shake a hand. I don't think I'd take a picture. I don't take a picture of much. I actually have met a lot of people, and that's just not... I don't need the selfie. I had the moment, right? I have the historical record in my head. It's not a bright, I don't need a name drop. And like I said, I'm not trying to demonize everybody in every system. There are good people working in bad systems. And like I said, sometimes great pieces of art come out of some really bad systems. But when we're talking about kids, and kids especially, have been indoctrinated into both Apple and Disney. My niece, my God. She's an iPhone girl. I'm like, you're an iPhone girl? First of all, my oldest is 14. The idea that you're getting a choice, you want to pay for it, okay, but who's paying for it? I'm an iPhone this and I this. And she begged me for an iWatch. Oh boy. She didn't want anything else. That was it. Does well in school. She did just get a job. Got her the iWatch. I'm an Apple this. I mean, again, for a guy like me, the phones, the peripherals, the watches, I think they work better. I think you have more choice with other brands, but that's just me. Think about it this way. It's not like Android or even Google have the type of following cult-like that Apple does. They're not. No one's lining up around a building for days to get the new Google phone or a brand of Android or any other competitor, Samsung, blah, 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 blah. They're not. But for some reason, this tech company, they are. And now Apple TV and Apple Originals, they're in the entertainment industry. And a lot of people have tried to copy them. Amazon's tried to launch a phone. Facebook's tried to launch a phone. Not happening. Not happening. And then with the Disney stuff, you've got indoctrination again. Like I said, I was going pre-World War II, so we're talking about my grandparents' generation that started. And these are songs and characters that have been embedded into the minds of tens of millions and passed down to tens of millions more. The Disney Ears logo is one of the most recognized logos globally, along with Coca-Cola. So, man, a merger like this or a buyout like this just shows you less and less choices and more people who've already been indoctrinated into the culture of these entities and these mindsets and whatever they put out. So I'm sounding the alarm on this one. Just want to put that out there. All right, we're coming up on the second break. We're going to shift gears to Robert F. Kennedy Jr. talking about Anthrax post 9/11 with the Tuckins. And then we're probably going to show a segment of Fabled Enemies on the Anthrax attacks to kind of emphasize what he's saying. And Tuck goes, wait a minute, really? Really? Yeah, really. Everything RFK Jr. breaks down here is 100% spot on. Robbie Martin has done some of the best work on the Anthrax issue, but the Anthrax issue was really there to hammer home any kind of remaining dissent after the 9/11 attacks. Very obvious. Very obvious in retrospect. The fear, the delivery, the fact that, specifically in the letters, it was associated with 9/11. And then the Anthrax coming from a bioweapons lab in the United States, Fort Detrick. Weird. And then finding out what the Bush administration had already been on Cipro, a preventative for anthrax prior. Weird. Weird. Thumbs it up, subscribe, and share, and we will be back after this word from our sponsor.
We interrupt today's programming to bring unfortunate news. Biden's dangerous plan for a digital dollar is underway. Don't be fooled. It won't benefit you. So take action now. The Federal Reserve's phased deployment of FedNow began on July 1st, 2023. Be prepared. This may catch many off guard and put your hard-earned assets in jeopardy. But here's the good news. There's a simple legal tax loophole to opt out of the digital dollar. Speak to someone at American Alternative Assets for a free wealth protection guide and discover how to safeguard your wealth with gold and silver IRAs against a failing dollar and volatile markets. Dial 833, the number 2 USA Gold. Yes, call now, 833-287-2465. This invaluable guide provides precise steps to transfer your IRA or 401k into precious metals without any tax consequences. Don't let Biden force you into using the government's new digital dollar. Call 833, the number 2 USA Gold. Yes, call now, 833-287-2465. Act swiftly, 833-287-2465.
And we are back at his Reality Rants. I am Jason Bermas. Remember, the second hour lives over at RVMRumble.com. That's where you caught the Alex Stein interview yesterday. If you came on over, you can support the broadcast at redvoicemedia.com/uncensored. And with that being said, let's play this clip now of RFK Jr. discussing the Anthrax attacks with the Tuckins.
You know, these are the same people who got us in the Iraq War.
I know.
Look at what happened. Let me go through what happened in Iraq, just for, give me 1 minute to summarize we were tricked into Iraq by the neocons, who told us that Saddam had something to do with the World Trade Center, which was a lie, that he had planted the anthrax attacks that came 5 days after the World Trade Center, which was a lie. That turned out to be,
Let's just stop it right there. Because they're talking about the neocons and our good buddy, one of the big neocons. And look, this was a mentor to Tucker Carlson back in the beginning, and Tucker has had his mea culpa and called Bill Kristol out for the monster that he is. But this guy is continuing. I mean, first of all, he's, attacks anything Trump. But talk about a never Trumper. But here he is. He's launching his nice little pro-war advocacy group. Wants us to get even further entrenched in this Ukraine conflict. He is one of the absolute worst. One of the absolute worst. I just had to bring that up because these people haven't gone away. They haven't been punished for their crimes. This is why we need to declassify everything 9/11 and start punishing criminals. Okay? That's what we need to be doing.
intelligence agencies and the U.S. military at Fort Detrick. That anthrax the FBI found came from Fort Detrick. So it was somebody in the U.S. government who sent it to Patrick Leahy and Tom Daschle, who were the two senators in the week after 9/11 who were trying to block the Patriot Act. And it shut down Congress, and the Patriot Act went through. And and then they told us...
Wait. Really?
Yeah. Yes. And the FBI, after a year of investigation, traced the anthrax. It was a kind of Ames anthrax that was weaponized, and the only source of that in the world could be the U.S. government. And they traced it to Fort Detrick.
So the biolab there?
Yes, the biolab at Fort Detrick, the CIA biolab at Fort Detrick. So somebody sent that in at the time the Patriot Act was being debated, and the two leading guys who were blocking it was Patrick Leahy and Tom Daschle were the recipients of it. It shut down Congress, the Patriot Act goes through, and what does the Patriot Act do? Two things. I mean, it basically gets rid of a large part of the United States Constitution, Bill of Rights, and allows spying by intelligence agencies on the American people, and it reopens the bioweapons arms race, because bioweapons were shut down in 1969 by, we saw, Nixon did this incredible thing.
And remember, politically useful tools are discussed in the form of bioweapons and specific genotypes via what? The neocon document from the Project for a New American Century, or PNAC, Rebuilding America's Defenses just prior.
Of closing Fort Detrick, shutting them down, and saying we're no longer making bioweapons, and then got everybody to sign a treaty in 73. Well, to abandon bioweapons. The Patriot Act has a provision in it that says we're not walking away from the Geneva Convention, which makes it's a hanging offense to develop bioweapons. We're not walking away from the Bioweapons Charter of 1972, 1973. But we are adopting a new rule that any federal official who violates those acts cannot be prosecuted. So it reopened, it effectively...
Isn't that lovely? Isn't that you see how they do it? An inversion of truth, an inversion of reality. Okay, let's do this. This is the old fabled enemies. That's the building. Oh, there it is right there, building 7 section. And there's the Anthrax. So look at this. We're going to get right into it. Maybe we should play a little bit of the building 7 section. I mean, this is where, again, just weird on 9/11. They told us that the whole back is scooped out. And then I have this video on 9/11 of the back of the building in World Trade Center, building 7, where they're going. It's not scooped out. Remember, it's the scoopings? And the first time they said, it was a fuel tank that blew up. And then they said, no. And then I think it was a global expansion of the beams, something like that. Some kind of ludicrous thing from NIST after they totally ignored it in the initial reports. So yeah, I think we're going to start here. So probably a good place to start. Can we get 100 thumbs up? 100 thumbs up-ins. That'd be helpful. All right, let's do it. Again, here you are, looking at World Trade Center Building 7 in the back. That's supposed to be completely and totally scooped out. And that's up to the main part of the lobby. All right.
It appears it is not scooped out after all.
No, it's not.
Members of the media were reporting that the building had collapsed due to structural damage and fire, more than 20 minutes prior to it going down.
Now, more on the latest building collapse in New York. You might have heard a few moments ago, I was talking about the Salomon Brothers building collapsing. And indeed it has. Apparently that's only a few hundred yards away from where the World Trade Center towers were. And it seems that this was not a result of a new attack. It was because the building had been weakened during this morning's attacks. We'll probably find out more now about that from our correspondent, Jane Stanley. Jane, what more can you tell us about the Salomon Brothers building and its collapse?
The building can clearly be seen in the background as Jane Stanley reports its demise.
Jane, I think many of us, when we heard the news, perhaps on the radio earlier today, were...
The feed would be cut before the building collapsed.
And just couldn't comprehend it. I mean, it almost sounded too far-fetched. I was wondering what it felt like for you being in Manhattan. Well, unfortunately, I think we've lost the line with Jane Stanley.
They called me down. I think it was part of the 9/11 Commission. They asked me the same questions that you guys are asking me.
Weird. The basic questions of why you were blown up in Building 7 and what happened during it. And no, Barry Jennings isn't a part of the 9/11 Commission report, neither is Building 7.
And at that point, they said, okay, thank you. And they sent me on my way.
And yeah, you told them pretty much everything you just told us.
Yes.
You were in the building, got rocked by an explosion.
Yes.
All that.
Yes.
And you know that they didn't mention Building 7 once in the Commission report.
I told them that's where I was. It was very, to tell you, it was very scary because they looked like very important people.
Yeah.
They were questioning me about certain things. And, I don't know if they liked the answers I gave. I could care less. I gave my account of it, the truth, and that was it. That day I'll never forget. And the explanations that were given to me is totally unacceptable. Totally unacceptable. I'm just confused about one thing, and one thing only. Why World Trade Center 7 went down in the first place. I'm very confused about that. I know what I heard. I heard explosions. The explanation I got was it was the fuel oil tank. I'm an old boiler guy. If it was a fuel oil tank, it would have been one side of the building.
And now the Anthrax attacks. Let's back up what RFK Jr. just said. This is
After
Fabled
9/11,
Enemies.
a climate of fear was created in order to shut down any opposition to the Bush administration's new agenda. A week after 9/11, anthrax began appearing in the mail. The letters were made to look as though they were the work of Muslim extremists, claiming "Death to America" and "Allah is great."
Now, if you remember, these anthrax letters, they were written to appear to be from semi-literate Muslims, very crude handwriting, all of this, all of that. They really do look more like movie prop letters than real letters.
The targets were government buildings, media outlets such as CBS, NBC, the New York Post, and politicians such as Senator Daschle and Leahy, two members of the opposition party. When the FBI tested the anthrax, it was highly refined and weaponized. Colin Powell would go on CNN and deny these allegations.
I think we've had a lot of stories over the past 4 or 5 days. First, it was weaponized anthrax, then it was highly refined, and then when it was analyzed, it was discovered it was none of the above.
The anthrax used in the attacks was identical to that of the AIM strain, which led the investigation to Fort Detrick.
An analysis of the anthrax that was sent to Senator Daschle's office shows that this anthrax has a sophistication that leads people to know that it can only be produced by a PhD microbiologist, and it would have to have been done in a small, well-equipped microbiology lab.
This appears to be the so-called AIM strain. That was a strain of anthrax that was first isolated almost 50 years ago at a U.S. Department of Agriculture diagnostic lab in Ames, Iowa. What's uncommon about this is that it has been engineered in such a way to be, as they say, readily aerosolized. That means, in effect, that what somebody has done is taken the anthrax spores, added to them some kind of a chemical to get in the way of a normal electrostatic process that causes the spores to clump together. Chemicals been added to declump them, in effect. That makes them very fine. They are able then to be dispersed very readily into the air.
The Washington Post would report, genetic fingerprinting studies indicate that the anthrax spores mailed to Capitol Hill are identical to stocks of the deadly bacteria maintained by the U.S. Army since 1980. Those labs can trace back their samples to a single military source, the U.S. Army Medical Research Institute of Infectious Diseases at Fort Detrick, Maryland. It's been made quite clear that Al-Qaeda wasn't behind this. It is a specialized biological weapon only produced by our military in one facility. High-level FBI and CIA officials said none of the 60 to 80 daily threat reports from intelligence sources contain evidence linking the anthrax attacks to Osama bin Laden's terrorist network. This did not stop the mainstream press from trying to blame Al-Qaeda.
As investigators race to find answers to the recent wave of anthrax terror, we'll look at what investigators are targeting now.
Since September 11th, Americans have been put on alert.
This is so terrible. Investigators are trying to ward off more attacks by dissecting the terrorist plan for September 11th, looking for patterns, methods, associates that could reveal what else terrorists had in mind.
It was not something smuggled in from Iraq. It was not something smuggled in from any Middle Eastern country. It was U.S. government ultrafine granulated weaponized anthrax spores. There was another story that the media absolutely would not touch. the story of Dr. Philip Zach. And it goes back to the U.S. government lab where the anthrax was stored. It was reported that official U.S. government documents in the anthrax investigation showed that Dr. Zach had entered the laboratory where the anthrax used in the letters was kept without proper authorization after having lost his job.
Somehow the Bush administration would have the foresight to be on Cipro 6 weeks prior to the attacks. How convenient. An attack traced back to U.S. government facilities, and the president and his staff happen to be taking the antidote before it's even in the mail.
Wild. There's a little bit more Judicial Watch. Listen, we're going to go to a word from our sponsor. We're going to come back to the final segment of the first hour. Second hour free over at rvmrumble.com. Don't forget to check it out.
Attention Americans, breaking news. Biden's dangerous plan for a digital dollar is underway. Don't be fooled. It won't benefit you. Take action now. The Federal Reserve phased deployment of FedNow began on July 1st, 2023. Be prepared. This may catch many off guard. Your hard-earned assets are in jeopardy. But there's a simple legal tax loophole to opt out of the digital dollar. Reach out to American Alternative Assets for a free wealth protection guide and discover how to safeguard your wealth with gold and silver IRAs against a failing dollar and volatile markets. Visit protectfrombiden.com. This invaluable guide provides precise steps to transfer your IRA or 401k into precious metals without any tax consequences. Be smart. Don't let Biden force you into using the government's new digital dollar. Visit protectfrombiden.com to get your free guide and get started. Again, that's protectfrombiden.com.
We are back. Final segment of the first hour. It is Reality Rants. I am Jason Bermas. A few other stories that I want to hit before I go back to doing some videos and talking to you guys. Heavy on the transhumanism when I get there. But there's some 9/11 stuff that I want to wrap up. Seeing as we just saw the Anthrax section and a little bit of the Building 7 section. Architect of 9/11, Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, and fellow co-conspirators may be spared death penalty under new plea deal being considered by federal government. Folks, this has been going on for 20 plus years now. The case 20 plus years to try to prove these people guilty in military tribunals after having them at black sites where they were tortured. This is a charade. This is a facade. Ayman al-Zawahiri, who is on video with bin Laden pre-9/11, was still roaming the streets for how long? Was still out. This is a facade, a facade. Now, I want you to think about something for a second. You just watched an excerpt from a film that I put out 15 years ago. Now, that right there, aside from RFK Jr. pointing out the fact that Daschle and Leahy, both not just opposition party, but were giving trouble to the Patriot Act. They also went after Daschle, I think, for taxes at the time. Hadn't paid his income tax or something like that. He quickly did that after the fact and stepped in line. I had more data and information, and finally, 15 years later, after that's out there, and I was far from the first to be talking about anthrax. I want to make that extremely clear. You know, and I was talking about it for years before I put it in that film. 15 more years for that to make it on the internet with two mainline personalities, RFK Jr. and the Tuckins. And I have not watched the entire interview with RFK Jr. and the Tuckins. I've been so damn busy. I'm going to try to. It seems extremely interesting. But we've got to start getting into 9/11. We got to start rolling into that reality because, you know, this is one of the drills that happens just prior to 9/11. And these are some of the drones and satellite technology that they're utilizing before 9/11. And you got Bin Laden on the cover of Amalgam Virgo 01. Okay? And if you look at this, this is based on perceived threats. So this whole idea that they caught us off guard because they hate us for our freedoms. Now, it was told we never envisioned. No, you ran drills of it prior to 9/11. Planes hitting the Pentagon, white papers on the World Trade Center as a target. You knew it was a target. Yeah, you put out Bin Laden as the main boogeyman. There he is again, the world's most dangerous terrorist. And then right above him, it's, Saddamster. And then over here you had Kim Jong-il. Did you notice the little Stalin right there? Just a teeny Stalin. We're moving away from Russia a bit. Moving away from Russia. Getting ready for a little bit of China action, though, down here. I mean, these guys, missile technology is proliferating in the hands of rogue nations and terrorist organizations. As a nation, we must research and develop options to combat these emerging threats. And really, if you look at this, Amalgam Virgo, all right, you see a lot of drone stuff, a lot of aerial stuff going on, a lot of communications everywhere. Fighters, tankers, radar, port security. It's all right here. And then they're already talking about the gray areas. Who is responsible? Come on. So, as you're looking at all these different little communications, don't worry. We're going to get to kamikaze airliners into the Capitol. But again, they didn't know. They had no idea. And they had no idea about the Anthrax. They had just no clue. All right, so if you look, you can actually see some of the exercises and what days some of these things are actually going to be deployed. Notice terrorist attack, terrorist attack, terrorist attack. Right there. Okay? Terrorist attack. And these are our defenses. Okay? It's internal, inside the United States. We're always looking at threats from the external. Okay. Sure you were. You're a liar. And they just lied and lied and lied. And we let them lie and lie and lie. And say things like, well, conventional wisdom would have you believe. When they finally fessed up to it years and years later. Years and years later. And this was a slow burn. Okay. Drone safety procedures. You notice this. You got Wellstone down here. All right. And then you have some of the drones up on the top. Okay. Then you got Rage Control, the director. You got the drone commander. You got drone control. You've got the picture. You have the total air picture. Then you got the satellite picture. You see this? And again, this is 20 plus years ago they're doing this. NORAD AV proposal guidelines. And by the way, we sum up this right here. Hijack scenario. There it is. Airliner right into the Capitol. No, they had no idea. And they didn't put Bin Laden on the cover. Jason, you conspiracy guy. You nut. You nut. And, I learned about this yesterday. I've been staying away from a lot of the stuff on Hawaii. I know there's a ton of stuff out there, but I'm going to throw just a little bit more of my 2 cents in there. I discussed it a little bit with Alex Stein. If you were watching the second hour yesterday, and I was talking about blast wave accelerators, and you're about to see what a blast wave accelerator actually looks like in a moment. But I was doing an interview with Zach Payne yesterday. I think he's over at Badlands Media. And he mentioned to me, and I hadn't heard this yet, that the sirens didn't go off. And not only didn't the sirens go off, but a lot of these kids that were in schools as this went on were sent home that day. And most of the parents were at work. So Zach was telling me that a bunch of there's 1,000 plus missing with a death toll of over 100. That most of these are going to be children. And then that kind of turned my stomach. And then he said that the island sirens, their emergency sirens, which I believe I became familiar with the sirens when there was that fake nuclear attack alert. Remember that? When all those people got that on their phones, that, oh my God, there's going to be some kind of nuclear strike in 5 or 6 minutes. And then the sirens were actually going off. But they didn't implement them at all. That's pretty bizarre. And it's certainly something worth looking at. Now, this guy's saying that he's defending his decision. Okay, let's see what he says.
We are here to provide you with the latest information and updates from the county and the state relating to the wildfires throughout Maui. State website. So the question is around siren use, clarification on that.
Do you regret not sounding the sirens?
I do not. And the reason why, and
so many people said they could have been saved if they had time to escape.
The sirens, as I had mentioned earlier, is used primarily for tsunamis, and that's the reason why many of them are found, almost all of them are found on the coastline. The public is trained to seek higher ground in the event that the siren is sounded. In fact, on the website of the Hawaii Emergency Management Agency, the following guideline is provided. If you are in a low-lying area near the coastline, evacuate to high grounds. Had we sounded the siren that night, we're afraid that people would have gone Malka. And if that was the case, then they would have gone into the fire. And so that is the reason why our protocol has been to use WEA and EAS. By the way,
so again, I mean, you got make your own decisions. That's what they're saying. Lest all voices be heard. Still a little funny. Now, by the way, I just want to say this. I'm not sitting here saying anything about dues or this and that and the involvement. I have no clue. I'm sitting back, hanging back, waiting for the evidence to unravel. People have to give me compelling arguments. However, I really want people to understand, and we've shown this many times. We're going to do it first. Blast wave accelerators. There we go. So there it is. Global precision on the cheap. What is it? No barrel, 200 feet notched rails, sequentially detonated, distributed some kind of energy, I would assume. Maybe it's heat energy. Could be heat energy. I don't know. Mach 21 or less as desired, up to 3,000 pounds. The base is anywhere. It's less than 200 pounds of projectile. $200 a pound for the projectile. Excellent anywhere, no plume. Affordability, ferocity, reaction time, survivability, recallability, effectiveness. And it's being worked on at Aberdeen and NASA MSFC for lofting of fuel and nanosats. So, to send these, basically to send things into space. Okay? So if you had this technology in space, which is very, possible, probable, it's right here. That is what you're looking at right there is a blast wave accelerator. 12-turn spiral, gyrating on a 3-mile radius at 9 hertz. So it's right there. Look, Slingation for global precision strike. I mean, basically, this is a takedown weapon. It has ultimate plausible deniability, right? Take a look. Excellent stealth, no plume. You can base it anywhere. So this stuff has been around for a very, very long time. I mean, that's the diagram for it. I'm not making this another pre-9/11 document. So here's the deal. We're going to take one more commercial break. I'm going to come back briefly to YouTube and tell you where you can find that second hour. Again, hint, hint, it's RVMRumble.com.
We love the internet, but the internet is tracking everything you do. Take control of your online privacy with IPVanish. People with malicious intent are everywhere, watching you. Criminals can hack your Wi-Fi, while broadband providers and advertisers monitor your data. With IPVanish on your device, your internet activity is encrypted. No one can see what you're doing. Your location, your connection, completely hidden. Protect your internet privacy today with IPVanish.
All right, guys.
Federal law. Congress passed a law.
Oh, I forgot. That's another video we're going to have to play on the other side. We're going to have to play that on the other side. That's right. We're playing it on the other side. Some more tuck-ins on the other side, not with RFK Jr., but the police chief of the January 6th event. I think it's an important interview, and especially the point he makes out in the beginning and what was going on there. We're going to get into transhumanism and a bunch of other stories. Thumbs it up, subscribe, share. Remember, the uncensored second hour is at rvmrumble.com. You can support the broadcast a number of the ways down below with the links. But redvoicemedia.com/uncensored is going to help support the broadcast and get you those 2 premiums earlier than everybody else every single week. All right, YouTube, that's going to about